Amber, welcome to my tutorial. Sophie's already shown you how to make a heart, so I am going to show you a few techniques on how to decorate them. So let's start with what we need to have in place before we get cracking. So we need a heart, we need tissue paper. So over here I have all my colours. Then we need glue. A bottle like this came in your pack, so you've got that. So you need to dilute it 50-50 with water, so half glue, half water. Then you will need a pair of scissors. You may not end up using them, but you will almost definitely need to have them around. Then you need a bin. That will save you so much trouble later on when it comes time to tidy up. And you need a wet cloth. Well, not wet, damp cloth. The reason being that as you do this, you're going to get glue on your fingers, and what you don't want is for your hands to be super sticky, so that every time you touch something it sticks to your hand, because it's going to make it a lot harder to work. So if you have a damp tea towel or face cloth or whatever you want to use, that will save you a lot of time and effort. Oh, and you will need a cup of tea. Crucial. Well, I think we're ready to get started. Right, so here's one that I made earlier, or that I've started on rather. What I've done is I've edged it. It's quite a simple technique, so I'm going to show you how to do this. So what I've done is I've edged it. I've started off with red here, and then that fades into pink. I don't know if the camera can actually pick that up. It fades into pink. So what I want to do is I want to fade that into purple, and then purple, and then back into red, so that by the time it gets down here, it's one integral thing. So what I've done, just for simplicity, is I've pre-prepared my pieces of tissue. I recommend you do the same, because it's going to make it a lot easier. You'll have a lot more control. You'll be able to make choices as you go along without having to put wet sticky things down and then with gluey hands rip things. So if you prep it all beforehand, you'll have a much better time. I'm going to show you how I made those strips. Now you can do it one of two ways. Let me put this aside for now. You can do it one of two ways. You can get your tissue and you can fold it, and then you can fold it in half and then fold it in half again, same direction, then fold it in half again. And with your scissors, now for that you'll need about 1.5 to 2 inches, so let's say there. So you just cut that across like that. When you open it back up, you will then have a strip. So for a heart this size, you will probably need 5 of these strips, I would say. Yeah, probably. Right, so now that you know how to do that, there is also another way you can do it, but that's a lot easier. But if you wanted it a little bit more rustic, a little bit more random looking, what you can do is it the long way? Making sure that you're holding the tissue paper the long way, so you have a portrait as opposed to a landscape situation. Grab it, make a little tear, and now holding it firmly, but obviously not, you don't want to rip it completely, but just gently tear it. It won't be perfect, it won't be as neat as if you cut it, but that might be what you're after. Yeah. Now if you do it the other way, I'm going to show you what happens when you do it the short way. It's not great. That's what happens if you do it the short way. It's because of the grain of the paper. So if you wanted to rip it, make sure if you're ripping strips or you're ripping this paper in half, or you know, ripping it for any reason, always do it lengthways, the long way down. All right, there we go. I'll put that in my bin. So putting this aside now, I'm going to show you how I edged it. Right. Now with my red strip, oh no, actually not yet, no. What I want is my glue. Now, a little piece at a time, I'm going to just generously apply the glue along the edge, but only on that one side for now. I think that'll do for now. And then with our strip, and you just place it about 1/2 inch, a centimetre in, or whatever you want to do really. Now half of this is off the paper, can you see? Yes, so I've put half of it on where I put the glue, and I've left half of it overhanging. That's going to fold round and become the other side. But for now we're not worried about that. For now we're just going to glue it down. And don't worry, where it bends, your paper will smudge. Your paper will have to fold in certain points. And that's okay, we don't mind that, because that's, once it's wet, once there's glue on there, you'll be able to manipulate it into the right shape, so don't worry. And also it looks quite nice when it's a bit randomized. Right, so I want the rest of that to be purple, so I'm going to tear it off at that point and put that back over there for future use. Alright, now turning it round, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side with the glue. Whoops. And now I'm going to fold it gently, because you don't want it to rip on the other side. You know, if you do it too roughly, you might end up pulling it around, and so just very gently fold it over. There you go. And with anything tissue related, always remember, go back over it with the glue and seal it in. Don't use the brush like this, because that will take it all off again. So your best bet is to pat it on. If you do end up ripping any, look, I ripped a little bit there. If you do end up ripping any, don't worry, because you can always go over and patch it up with bits of red at the end. The most important thing is that it's completely stuck down and it's sealed in with the glue. I'm now going to repeat that process with the purple. Now this piece of paper has been cut in half, so actually lengthways is that way. So remember, always tear lengthways, the long side down. I'm going in and I'm repeating that process. Apply generous amounts of glue, watered down glue. And then halfway on, can you see that? And I'm having to sort of fold it ever so slightly as it goes round, and that's absolutely fine. Sorry, I'm try and make sure you guys can see. Right, try and be gentle at all times. Now I've gotten up here now. I want to fade back into the pink at that point, so I'm going to tear this bit off very gently. Save that for later. And again, go back in on the other side. Repeat the process. Gently folding. So as you can see, that's not matched up. But don't worry, because with a bit of glue you can then just gently manipulate it until it is matching up like that. Alright, let me see. Can you guys see what I'm doing there? Oops. Now this one's slightly messier than the red one, isn't it? But again, don't worry. There we go. Again, make sure you go over it with the glue, seal it, flatten down any bumps you've got. Make sure it's properly glued on. Oops, I created a gap. Never mind, I'll go in later on. Don't worry too much about imperfections, because at the end, before you hand it over to us, you can go over it. Anything that's bothering your eye, just fix. It's easy, you know, it's easily mended with an extra bit of tissue paper. Right, I'm going to go in with a bit of pink here. I'm going to use a tiny bit of pink on that join. Do you see that join there? You see how it's quite severe? Well, I don't want it to be so severe, so I'm putting a tiny bit. Let me get in there for you to see. All right, a tiny bit of pink tissue paper just on that join, and that's going to help me to blend it a little bit better. By the time I get that all glued down, oh, maybe not so great, but yeah, it blends a lot better now than it did before. So now we're going to do the last bit there, which is the pink, and repeat that process. So you can fast forward through this bit if you feel like you know what you're doing now. Generous amounts of glue. Attach the tissue halfway through the tissue, so half on, half off, and remember to bend it as you're going up, kind of fold it in so that it stays flat along the paper. This will happen, I'm going to show you, because you're bending, because you're folding as you go along, the paper's going to bend. That's okay, just very gently bend it in the other direction so it goes round the edge of your heart. Again, very gently tear off the excess, the bits you don't want. and do the back. There we are. Now, you'll remember you have to go in with the glue over it, seal it in. Any bits that remain dry, if the tissue remains dry, even though it might stick to the heart, it won't be protected from the elements, like, at all. So you need to make sure that it's been generously PVA'd, because when that dries, that's going to make it a little bit waterproof, and we want it to last as long as possible, really. We want it to look fabulous and show off your skills for as long as humanly possible. So there you go. So that's the edge done. Ta-da! Quite hot, actually.